Okay guys, so for today's lesson we don't have a journal entry, but I do need you to follow along in the book with any examples I do here, please. Okay, so the step in. This is exploring hundredths. So each large square represents one whole. Okay, so each of these are a whole. How many columns are in the shaded square? Okay, so I know, so columns, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There are 10 columns. Okay, this is 100. There's also 10 rows down here. So all these are 100, so it's hundredths. So if you have a whole and you want to show this in hundredths, so we know the denominator would have to be 100. And how many are colored in? There are 100. So this is 100 hundredths. Okay, it says shade the first 4 columns in the other square. So just quickly, I'm just going to put a line through it. 2, 3, 4. So that shows 4 of the columns. Each column has 10 in that. Okay, so that means there are 10 here, 10 here, 10 here, 10 here. So there is 40 shaded. So that is 40 out of how many? 100. So 40 hundredths. So altogether now, there would be one whole and 40 hundredths filled in. Another way to write that in a fraction would have been 1 and 40 hundredths. Okay, so how many? Each large square, so let's do the step up. Each large square represents one whole. Write the missing numbers to describe the shaded part of each large square. So the first one is done for you, so we'll talk through that. So it shows tens plus hundredths. So how many tens are there? So how many columns are filled in? 1, 2, 3. There's 3 tens. So make sure to outline the 3. And how many hundredths? The hundredths are each square. So there's 1, 2. 2 hundredths. So if you put that all together, it'd be 32 hundredths. Now in a decimal fraction, you would write that with 32 hundredths like this. But when you write it out in word form, if you just wrote hundredths, that's fine as well. So you need to finish these, write how many tens there are, how many columns, and then how many individual hundredths there are, and then the total number of hundredths. So how many individual squares are actually shaded? 2. Make sure you can see that. Okay. Shade each picture to match the description. Then write how much more needs to be shaded to make one whole. Okay. So we shade it first, 2 tenths. So that'd be 1, 2. I'm going to shade that just a little bit better. And 4 hundredths. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So this means it is 24 hundredths. How many more need to be shaded? I'm going to do this in a different color. How many more need to be shaded to make one whole? So basically, how many more to make 100? So let's see how many columns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 tenths. And how many hundredths? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 hundredths. So you would need 76 hundredths. You can check that this is correct by adding what you started with and what you need, and it should equal 100. 24 plus 76, 4 plus 6 is 10. 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 7 is 10, so 100. So it checks out. Do the same for all these. Then step ahead, draw lines to match the numbers. Some numbers do not match. So let's see. showing 63 hundredths. So you'd see if there's 63 hundredths here. So how do you make 63 hundredths? By 6 tenths and 3 hundredths. So that would be 63 hundredths. Just like this, 63 hundredths. And that's it.